Right, we are going to start the session, ladies and gentlemen, so if we can have some quiet. I did hold my hand up for the primary heads amongst you who know what I'm doing. So, yes, I'm tied to the lectern, so if I appear at all stiff or whatever, it's because I'm desperately trying to move and move across. Right, we're going to start. We're going to look at the power of ICFP. Why do you say it? Now, I was asked the question, should I be here on primary? Absolutely. Primaries, it's more important for primaries than it is for secondaries even. So, yes, you're in the right room. So we've got the power of ICFP, and I was going to give you my background, but you've read the bio if you have. A pedagogical leader for 30 years, 36 years, retired 7 years ago to take on school improvement generally, leadership and management development particularly, curriculum implementation and design, and financial management and everything else that goes with it. I'm a qualified SMA, I've done this, that and the other. You can read it, it's not important. What is important is, that's my alter ego, which is my avatar, and this is the one picture that my wife my wife chose this picture for me to do the presentation. She's sitting in the front row, so there's no pressure. Right, okay, so what are we going to do? What is ICFP? Well, we've already acknowledged today, anybody in the room wants more money. Yes, you all want more money. Unfortunately, everybody in the room also acknowledges you're not going to get it. It's limited. It's going to be limited by whatever's there. Oh, you haven't got it because it's delayed in terms of what I'm giving you. So, in the real world, you're not going to get it. Super. You want a new tech grant? You're not going to get it. You're going to have to spend from your own budget. And you should be investing year on year from your own budget anyway. So what's the power? Well, ICFP. Somebody made the comment in the audience today, ICFP is the best methodology to use to get you to the point where you need to be, where you can use actually your resources. And I put down here, to provide the best quality education provision for your students. And this is not about making savings, it's about generating the best possible output efficiency. How do we get the most out of the money we've got for the children who are in our care? So, what have we got? The real power of ICFP. It's been the fundamental foundation of all effective financial management planning and resource planning. It's there. It will give you all the evidence you want to argue with your senior teams, with your governors, with anybody else who you care to be working with, to tell them and show them why they need to do things slightly differently. There was a comment today about we want more money because we want the additional resources. Well, a lot of it is tied up in structures at the present time, leadership and management structures, too many people in some ways, and when you're reducing roles, you have to change your structure to match the number of pupils you've got. It's obvious. So, what is it? It's about enriching the curriculum to best meet the educational needs of your students. It's about actually improving the staffing structure planning to make sure you're doing the best you can. And by the way, in 35 minutes, there's no way I can do everything on ICFP. So it's a whistle-stop tour. You've got to utilize diagnostic metric analysis to actually help you, to give you that evidence and quantify the impact of the decisions you're making. There's got to be a balance. I'm not saying you shouldn't have people. People are the most important resource you've got. But there has to be the right number. You can tell I'm trying to get away from the lectern, can't you? The right number there's got to be. And there's a balance between staffing and non-staffing. You also need to provide starting points for conversations between you, your senior leaders, your governors, your trustees, whoever it might be, to actually have that impact yourself. And you've got to provide objective evidence to enable them to actually make the decisions and make the strategic planning and management plans to deliver on their decisions. Okay, so what are the key benefits? Well, first of all, it allows you to analyze the resource allocation you're making. It allows you to actually look at it and go, actually, are we doing the right thing? It allows you to know your organization better. The second thing is, it allows you to compare spend with impact. If we do this, what actual impact is it going to have? Is appointing another assistant head going to deliver improved outcomes, improved standards? Is it going to improve the behavior and attendance of the students? Is appointing new TA going to support our children with special needs more, or do we need a specific TA because we've got lots of EAL need? So looking at the decision-making process is important. It provides an evidence-based review. It gives you that knowledge and that wherewithal to have the argument, to have the say. You don't think Tom Goldman goes to the Treasury and says, well, I think we should have some more money. He'll go, we need this because of that, and here's the evidence. And that's what you need to do yourselves. Because that will inform the strategic decisions that are taking place in your schools. And let's face it, it also then will empower the maximum output efficiency from the resources you've got. And they are limited. I can't give you any more money. I wish I could. I'll be the first on the barricades with you to argue for more money. But I'm also a realist. And know, yes, you may get things in line, but you may want more money, but you may want more people, but all the time you're going to get kickback. And so you need to do something about it. So what I'm arguing is ICFP allows you to systematically analyze all elements of your resource use. And if you're doing and using a good model of it, then it will be enough to cover all the areas in the simplest possible way. And what I'm going to tell you is this. Normally, people who heard me speak before now expect me to say what the different metrics are you're going to use. The answer is no, because that's not your starting point. Your starting point is having the vision and mission for what you want to deliver in your schools. Actually knowing what you are understanding about the school and what we need to deliver for the benefit of the students. That's your starting point. And you as school business professionals and others, I do recognise there's more people in the room than just school business professionals, then, oh, I'm sorry, I'm definitely one behind on this. It needs the next step. And the next step in that, from having the vision, is to link effective curriculum design and actual sort of staffing structure decisions around what you need to deliver. But it needs to be done in such a way that you can actually afford it and make it work. Would you agree? I hope so, because the whole basis of what I'm delivering to you today is about that. It's about building your curriculum structure. Do you need to know massive amounts about the curriculum? No. But you do need to know some things, and you need to know where they come from to enable you to use them effectively. So what have we got? What we have got is ICFP metrics that will then provide you with the evidence and analysis of what you're providing to make sure that you're in the right ballpark. So your staffing should be, in primary, somewhere between 76 and 79% of your income, in a sweet spot, in the best possible way. In a secondary, between 73 and 76, roughly, of where it should be. Can it be more? Yes, but if you're doing more, you've got to invest less elsewhere. It's a graphic equalizer, and you'll have heard me say that so many times I get bored of saying it. But what you also have is analysis of that generates an idea for you of where your issues might be, where your potential for change, where your potential for improvement is. It's not saying it's wrong, it's saying these are ways you can actually do better. And then, once you've got that, all of those then feed into making it possible for you to improve and enhance your strategic decision making. And I know I'm going quickly, but that's because I've got a lot to tell you. So what it does, curriculum design and structure, what have you got? How do you deliver your vision? Well, you want your curriculum design and structure. You want the whole school, and I'm talking about the whole curriculum here, not just your lessons. I'm talking about alternative provision, I'm talking about your extracurricular, I'm talking about your pastoral care, your community work with your parents. That's your curriculum, the whole lot, not just the lessons. So what you've got is your curriculum design, in fact, year and class structures. What's the most efficient way of doing it? Do we need to be better? Enhanced curriculum, the support staffing structures you've got in terms of your educational curriculum support. How do you help those deliver the rest? Well, you need your non-curriculum staffing. You need your admin and your support and everything. You need you guys. Let's face it, key to the process. You need your outside of curriculum enrichment. You need all the bits and pieces that go into it, including your environment, your buildings, your ICT, your tech support, all of it. Because what you do then is you have to use the analysis. Once you've got where you want to be, how do you make it better? How do you demonstrate that you are or aren't where you're going to be? And how do you utilize the power of the ICFP? So, here's a question. How many classes are you going to provide? Is that an obvious question? Sometimes. So if I've got a year 7 of 225 pupils. How many classes am I going to provide? You don't need to know everything about the curriculum. You could have classes of English, maths, history, underwater basket weaving. I don't care what classes you've got in one respect, but I do know that for them to be efficient and not waste resources, and because you are funded for classes that are roughly 30 in years 7, 8 and 9 in Key Stage 3. So what you've got is 8 core linear classes, possibly 9 for English and math, 9 or even possibly 10 for English and maths with the COVID problem and follow-up. But then you might have 10 for those subjects where you need slightly smaller classes, whether it be PE, design technology, food technology, those areas. But that's the number of classes you will need. If you've got more than that, why? Because each extra class you're putting on is £80,000 to £100,000 straight away. You might ask, year 10 of 225 pupils, so what are you funded for? Well, you're funded for roughly classes of 23 to 25. So for that, you need 9 core classes of about 25, an option, the number of option columns you've got multiplied by that 9, plus 1 or 2 for the smaller subject numbers, music, modern languages, whatever it might be, to give you the number of option classes that would be the most efficient. And then what about the efficient class sizes? If you're in primary, you're working on a basis of roughly 27 to 30 being where you need the classes to be. So in a class year, in a school of 236 pupils, 1 form entry plus a nursery, you've got 8 core classes. So you've got 8 core classes. If you've got 120 children, you've got to have mixed year groups. You can't have full year groups of 18 to 20 students, so you have mixed year groups to be efficient and work. So these are the kind of pieces of information you need when you're looking at the evidence. Key Stage 5, you need to know where the break-even point is. Roughly 14 hours, 14 students for 8 hours a fortnight is roughly your break-even point. Does that mean you shouldn't have smaller classes? No. But to balance that out, you have to have somewhere you've got fewer numbers of hours for small classes and larger numbers of hours for larger classes at the other end to balance it out in terms of your funding. So staffing structure and delivery. Again, you've got to be looking at the whole curriculum and the structure and design of it. Leadership and management. What's an efficient leadership management structure? What should you have? There's a thing called organizational memory. And I hesitate to say this because of the building I'm in, but sometimes there's a loss of that organizational memory at the center. Because where does it come from? It comes from right from the very beginning of what should you expect in, here you go, what should you expect in the leadership and management structure of a 236 pupil primary, 1 form entry plus nursery? What should you expect? I will guarantee you there are schools in here from London that have got a head, an assistant, a deputy head and an assistant head, plus a Senko or 2 or more. I will guarantee it. Can you justify that for 8 classes? Really? Is it necessary? So my argument would be no. Can you justify, what should you have for a 720 pupil 11 to 16 secondary? What should you have for a larger secondary? Well, here's an answer for you. Because what I'd like to know is those 3 things. What structure can you afford in each of those? What global value of TLRs would you expect to have? Because heads are great. They give out TLRs like Smarties. I've been a head for 17 years and a CEO for 6. I didn't, but I still didn't give them out like Smarties. How many teachers do you need for a 1,645 hour per fortnight curriculum? How many teachers do you need? Well, it's not difficult. And what I'm saying to you is you don't need to know it in detail, but there are certain things you do and really give the power of ICFP. Here you go. That's the organisational memory that's been forgotten. Roughly, senior leaders, if you do the research, in terms of schools, roughly, schools 0 to 600, roughly 1 senior leader per 150 students. 600 to 1,100, 1 to 200. Above that, 1 to 250. So for your 236 pupil primary, 1 plus 1. 236 divided by 150 is 1 and a bit. So it's 1 head and a largely teaching head stroke, deputy head stroke assistant head. That's it. That's what you are funded for. You can have more, but actually You're out the ballpark in terms of cost. Same thing goes, 740. 740 divided by 200 is 4 and a bit. Well, it's not. No, it's not at all. It's 3, nearly 4. Okay, so what would you expect? Either head, deputy, 2 assistant heads. Head, deputy, 3 assistant heads. Somewhere in that region. If you've got problems in terms of context, you've got an Ofsted category, or you've got what, you'd expect 5. If you're not, you're okay, and you'd expect 4. So this is where you're dealing with. And when you're having the arguments with your head about appointing a new assistant head, that's your argument. Your 1,100 pupils secondary. 1,100 divided by 200, 5 and a bit. So either head, deputy, head, 2 deputies, 2 assistant heads, head, 2 deputies, 3 assistant heads. If I've got a sixth form in there, maybe a head of sixth form might be in the extra assistant head. You're dealing with the issues. You're dealing with what you are. That's what you're funded for, roughly. So can you have more?
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Sorry, if you ask a question, I've got to repeat the question back to you. If it's absolutely burning, yes. If not, we'll take it at the end.
It is, because does this take into account all staff who've got SLT roles?
No, it doesn't. This is purely for the teaching side in terms of the structure. Sorry, the question was, does this take account of support staff being in leadership roles? And I absolutely believe that they should be, including the school business professional, but actually as a teaching staff metric, this is not included. They're not included here. So add on the business professional to these if you like.
And you're stripping it. If someone was half teaching, half SLT, you'd be half in that SLT measure, yeah?
No, they'd be full. They're counted in full. Sorry, they're counted in full. I'm going to try and avoid the questions without me answering because I'll get told off afterwards. Okay? So, next, management structures. TLR totals. How should you know? Well, you know because you can build it. You can, build it and they will come. You can build your staffing your TLR structure from scratch. You can work out, in a one-form entry primary school, how many TLRs do you need? Well, I've got the head and the bit of the deputy. I need 2 coordinators, 2 key stage one early years coordinator and a key stage 1, key stage 2 coordinator. You've then got maybe the Senko, so you've got a 3rd or 4th TLR. So your total in the primary should be roughly 12 to 24,000 of TLRs. You can do exactly the same thing with the secondaries and go, you need a head of, in a 740 pupil secondary, head of maths, 1A, allowance. In an 11 pupil secondary, head of maths, 1B. You can build in whatever structure you like. I'm not saying you have to have these people, but if you build that structure and you add up the TLRs, you'll get to roughly those values. And you don't put in a proliferation of all sorts of extra ones that you don't really and can't actually afford. That's roughly the area you're being funded for. So, how about teaching structure? And I know this is very quick, but your pupil-teacher ratio values. For your primaries, roughly 22 to 24 is your sweet spot. For secondaries, 17 to 18. In terms of your teacher contact ratios, values for primary, 78 to 80% on average. You don't do it by individuals. Globally, on average, including all your heads, deputies, assistants, 0.78 to 0.8. In secondary, allowing for a bit of workload, 0.76 to 0.78. So, how about this? How many teachers do you need to deliver a 1,645 pupil curriculum? I bet you're going, well, I couldn't possibly do that. I'd need my curriculum deputy. No, you don't. If you've got, at 17, you could use the pupil-teacher ratio. 740 divided by 70 is 17, 43 and a half. You could do it by 18, divided by 18, 41.1. So to deliver the curriculum in that 740 pupil secondary, you will need round about 41 to 43 FTE teachers. But we've got 52. And you may laugh, but I'm dealing with a 686 pupil school at the present time that has a lot more than that. So you are in the business. You should be able to tell me if you're efficient or not, from your own experience. In the same way, you could use the teacher contact ratio. At 1,645 hours per fortnight on a 50-hour timetable cycle, if I take the teacher contact ratio sweet spot, 0.76 is 38 hours out of the 50. So divide your 1,645 by 38, and it'll give you 43.2. Remarkably close to your 43.5, believe it or not. If you do it by the 0.78, it gives you 42.1. So you need 42 to 43 teachers. How many times can you do it? Your teacher contact ratio sometimes is off because you've got too many classes on, because your curriculum design is too generous. So you need to be careful. But that will tell you from scratch, are we in the right ballpark? Is it sustainable? Can we afford it? Are we in the position where we can deliver the curriculum? This is how you can use ICFP most effectively, and use the curriculum structure that you don't need to know everything about, but can use to analyze what's in front of you. How about decision making? Sorry, how do we use it? Well, here's about decision making. Total teacher costs here in this school, 3.392 million. You've also got the hours of teaching per fortnight, which is... Sorry, I've just spotted the failure of my wife in proofreading my slides. Okay, it was me. It was me. It was me. The hours of teaching per fortnight, 1,645. The hers of teaching per week, 822.5. So 822.5 hours a week. And we deal with hours a week. So what is the average, what is the per hour lesson cost? It's your total teacher costs divided by how many hours of teaching you're actually delivering to classes. Not on call, not PPA, not leadership and management, not, well, I felt they needed a bit more time, so I gave them a bit more time. How many hours of teaching are you getting out of your teachers? Are they deployed efficiently? Because that's your key. And let's face it, a key loading is really, they're going to be teaching 20 to 22 hours a week. So there's time. So in that calculation, per hour lesson cost is your 3.3 million divided by your 822.5. Simple. In this case, it comes to £4,214. But so what do you use the per hour lesson cost? So that is the marginal cost. Actually, Stephen, it's probably the incremental cost, isn't it? It's the incremental cost of one additional hour of teaching, 4,214. So if you're giving your year 6 teacher an extra afternoon of PPA time of 2 hours, or 2.5 hours, that's over £10,000 of teaching cost. If you're in a secondary school and you're giving 4 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours a fortnight to your heads of year, 8 hours a fortnight is 4 hours a week, is over £16,000 worth of teaching time that you're giving them to do that job. In addition to the time that they should be doing outside of the teaching day because they're being paid the TLR for it. So you've got this. Each option group, if you have an extra option group in there of 5 hours a fortnight, it's 2.5 hours, it's 10,000 per option group in your year 10 and 11. That costs your curriculum really easily and quickly. The actual cost rather than what you think it is. In addition, you can take your sixth form and you can look at, well, are we going to have 8 hours or 10 hours a fortnight of time for the groups? Well, at 8 hours to 10 hours, that's 1 hour a week extra. That's an extra £4,000 per group. Do I have the loading for my main staff at 44 hours out of 50 or 42 out of 50? If it's 42, that's an extra hour a week. It's an extra £4,000 per FTE that I'm employing of cost. Can I afford it? Is it sustainable? So you've got this real issue and real power with simple metrics, not complicated ones, simple ones, for saying how you can use it and make it sure it is sustainable. You've got all the numbers, you know how to do the calculations, and if not, you can find out really easily. But this is the power. This is how you use it most effectively with your leadership. So let's go further forward. What can you do about it? What can you do about it? My average teacher cost is too high. What can I do? Well, the answer is straightforward. The answer is in the words, in the formula. Your average teacher cost is your total teacher cost divided by your number of teachers you've got. Yes? Well, it's one number divided by another. So if it's too high, you need to make it smaller. So I either need simple fractions, I either need to make the top smaller or the bottom bigger. And luckily, I'm told that the picture is only this much, so you can't see. Making the bottom bigger is always a mistake. So what you've got is you need to make the top smaller. And all you do is you look at the bits. Your total teacher actual costs. Not what DFE say or whatever. Total teacher costs. Is your total teacher salaries and on-costs of what you employ, plus your general supply costs, plus your agency supply costs, because that's everything you are paying to put on your lessons. So I've either got to reduce the total teacher costs, in other words, that's around, do I have too many leaders or too highly paid leaders? Do I have too many managers, TLRs, or too high TLRs? Do I have too many UPS 3 teachers and the profiles off? Or am I recruiting badly, so I've got too much agency staff? Am I got too much sickness absence, and so I've got too much general supply? If so, you attack all of those things. Your general supply, improve the well-being in the school so you get less absence. Carrot and stick, though, have a very strict attendance policy that you apply. If it's not okay for the kids to be absent, why is it okay for the staff to be absent? There's always absence in schools, but I'll guarantee in this room there are people who say, actually, I know that I can think of that person, and you know, we need to get hold of that. Agency, you need to recruit better. You need to go earlier, plan better, plan in advance. You should be planning now your curriculum not only for September 25, but September 26, because it's going to take you 18 months to change your staffing enough. So do it. Plan. Falling roles in London, there's no excuse for going, oh, we've got falling roles this year. Well, we better start now and change the structure. No, you've known for 3 years that the numbers are falling. In fact, you've known for 4.5 years the numbers are falling. So where are the plans to change how many teachers you've got, how many leaders you've got, how many caretakers you've got, how many support staff you've got? Where are the changes to make that sustainable? Would you agree? I think so. This is where the power of ICFP is, because it tells you where it is. But my school's different. I've got lots of SEN and everything else, and lots of EHCPs. You need to know, what is the average level of SENK students in the country? 13.6%. What's the average nationally of your EHCP children? 4.7%. So don't tell me you've got, the school I'm working with, 11% SENK, 0.8% EHCPs, and massive numbers of TAs and HLTAs. No, not in your life. You don't have the need. You might want it, you might like it, it might do good, but otherwise you've got to spend money elsewhere as well. And so it's wrong. Context, boom. What have you got in context? Well, there are things. Levels of local deprivation, they do impact. You've got levels of SEN and EHCPs, they do impact. And you might have to amend bits and pieces around the edges. This is not absolutist. It's not ICFP by rote. It's ICFP with a brain. You've got to apply it. You've got to make your justifications. Recent Ofsted, LA, or well, they've gone, so no longer ESFA judgment, but DFE judgment on your school. Rapid or significant demographic change, and I'm speaking in the room full of people who've got rapid demographic change. So, yeah. Geographic recruitment issues. These impact. Comparable local authority funding models, but everybody's funded the same. It's a national funding formula. Oh, no, it's not. If you're in North Yorkshire, across the border in West Yorkshire, they're going, yay! West Yorkshire, very generously funded. North Yorkshire, very tightly funded. And so you're getting roughly 4% difference in level of monies being given to one school and in North Yorkshire compared to the school in West Yorkshire. I'll use those two because that's far away from London. Right, internal staffing profiles. That makes a difference. You can't just go, right, I'm going to get rid of all you UPS 3 teachers and employ all these M1. You can't just do that. That's not allowed. The AHR professional would be down your neck. Organisational memory loss is key. It's key in knowing 1 to 150 for 600, 1 to 200 for 600 to 1,000. 1 to 250 for over 1,200. You know, these things matter. It's organisational memory. How much you should be able to afford on TLRs. It's institutional memory. So, how do you ensure, once you've got all this, that leaders, governors and trustees can effectively interpret and implement and actually utilise ICFP data? What's the first step? Teach them, train them, have the conversations. There's a big thing about SBPs being a part of the senior leadership team. Absolutely, on one condition. What's the condition? That you speak truth to power, that you have the capacity and the willingness and the wherewithal to actually challenge in the arena, to actually have those conversations and to challenge, even if you get pushback, to have the conversations. And if you can't have those conversations, what are you doing on senior leadership? And if you want to be paid at senior leadership level, as you probably should be, why can't you have the conversations at that level? And you should be able to. So this is what you should be using. And what tools can you use to help you? The whole conference, what tools can you use to help you have the conversations? ICFP. People think of it as being not primary, it's only secondary, it's not. It's every school. Primary, maintain nursery, special, everything. You can look at this and use the ICFP to help. What else do you need? I can't remember what I've written. Decide on and use a user-friendly, comprehensive model. Define a model. Use a complete model. They'll tell you everything. That's easy to understand. User-friendly. Has a limited number of metrics. You don't need, you know, the underwater basket weaving ratio that I constantly refer to. You don't need it. That tells me I'm out of time. But utilise one of the tools available. There are ones, you know, there's ASOP, there's ICFP School, there's the DFE models. Find one that's easy to use and that you understand and that your governors will understand. Use the model to provide budget and financial interpretation of your metrics. And if they don't tell you how big the problem is, how to quantify that, how big the problem is, then don't use it. You need help to quantify it. Use the analysis to guide and provide evidence for your contributions to senior team. Get in there, get it done. And lastly, why not have an SMA review done in your organisation? I'm really pleased to see there are 10 business managers from Enfield today. I'm working with Enfield on a pilot of using ICFP in their schools with a pilot. Great to see you here. Just worked. So, after that whistle-stop tour, I nearly got there. Any questions? And I did stay nearly within the framework of the lectern. I did wonder. I can move now. Oh, right. Okay. Questions.
So I'm going to say about the M word, which my head teacher was talking to me about yesterday, which was maternity.
Ah, maternity. Yes. What about it?
What do you reckon the extra cost is of having to cover a maternity place? You know,
it will vary completely whether people are taking a year off, 3 months off, whatever it might be. Do you have to deal with it? Yes. Should it be paid? Yes, absolutely.
No, I'm absolutely with that. I'm absolutely with that. Yeah. But we think it could be 50-60% extra to cover that teaching role.
Yes.
Over that.
That is what is called an operational deficit. And you can't do anything about it. All you have to do is build it into your planning for coping with.
And have you got any sense on what the countrywide stats are?
It varies by authority, by how much time.
No, I mean in terms of how many teachers are taking maternity.
The analysis you do of your teaching staff is you take the maternity leave person out and you put their replacement in.
No, but I understand that, but I'm just trying to, like, I think we've had this year 2, we might have 6 next year. No, thankfully not.
Actually, I changed that chair in the staff room, actually. Sorry, that's very inappropriate. I apologise. Sorry, maternity issues are an issue. Insurance is... Yeah, sorry, thank you to Rebecca here. Insurance. Make sure you've got good insurance. Question at the front, you?
How well do you think ICFP...
Sorry, for recording it needs to be in the mic. If I've got to suffer, you have to.
I'll use the mic. So, yeah, love ICFP. Great to use it. How well do you think it's used across the country?
Not as well as it should be, and certainly it's growing and has grown with the SRMA programme and the knowledge and the information that's going out. The DFE's current local support offer enables you to ask for groups of people to be trained, so that's good. It's not used as widely as it should be, but that's because people don't understand how straightforward and simple it is to actually use when you actually get your feet on the ground and using it properly.
And primary's not using it enough.
And primary certainly are not using it enough.
Andrew, is it possible to ask people to put their hands up whether
Yes.
they believe they are using ICFP today?
Yes, could you put your hand up if you're using ICFP today? Excellent.
My
That's
guess is
actually-
10 to 15% nationally, and we're 50%.
Yeah. So, thank you. Next question. There's a question at the front.
Sorry, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on maternity. So if you take maternity costs out because you provide for the supply cover for that maternity, where do you account for the maternity into budget?
You don't take it out. It is still part of your total teaching staff costs.
Teaching costs.
And whatever money you get back, which will be lagged and at the end, goes into your income.
Okay. And one last thing, the cost per lesson that you did before, that includes all the SLT as well, isn't it? The cost for per lesson
Yes.
of the 4,000, whatever it was before, that includes also the salaries of the SLT.
The SLT, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Your total teacher cost
Yeah.
includes the cost of every single teacher you employ, which includes your head, deputies, assistant heads, management holders. People take it out and go, teaching staff costs are really low.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Although they're not teaching, they are counted in there.
Yes.
Thank you.
HPSS takes it out in one line to another. Don't. It's included.
All right.
Add something about the... for head teachers as well.
Sorry, I was just going to say, can you add something to that about the fact that if you're dealing with maternity people, you don't include people on maternity leave in your
Yes.
FTE, so they're not part of your teacher contact ratio?
Just reiterating, when you're doing an ICFP analysis at the time, you're taking out the people who are away on maternity leave and put in their replacements in terms of FTE, but you're keeping in all the cost. That's really important because otherwise your other ratios will look great, and they're not. And that is where you need to adjust your data that's coming out of your management information system, because your management information system will tell you the total with the maternity leaves in, or long-term absence, or suspension, or sabbatical, or any reason they're not in school at the present time. Yes, the lady at the front. Lady in red for the second time.
I'm more finance and my boss is an SRMA and she mainly does the ICFP within our trust. And we've got 9 schools, soon to be 12. And she does it, she uses like eSpot and stuff like that. And when I look at them and help her check them, they seem like they're all spreadsheets. And which model do you think is best? I mean, we've tried to use the IMP. Could I just finish? We try and use the IMP model because it integrates with our budgeting system, but they work all on averages. So if you have somebody on maternity, you can only see half a person there, and she gets really frustrated with it, and it's a bit disappointing.
Right, I'm going to answer the question very diplomatic and say I couldn't possibly recommend an individual model. And I'm not even going to say but. There are good models out there. You need to investigate them. Talk to people at break. But what I would say, if you're going to use a model, use a complete model on its own. Don't use INP metric values and compare them to DFE benchmarks or to ASOP benchmarks on thresholds, because it won't work. They're calculated in a different way. So don't use it. And yes, I'm not surprised you're frustrated, because it pulls it through completely from the MIS system, and therefore you're including people who are on maternity leave.
Yes.
And so you shouldn't. So it doesn't.
Can I just pick up on that? When you're looking at those models as well, it's really important to take into account your outsourced staffing. So if you've got curriculum, non-curriculum staffing that's outsourced, catering, cleaning, so on and so forth. If you're in a trust, that leadership factor. And I can say, because I'm not stood up there, but I use ASOT, and that gives you that well-rounded view.
I will just reiterate one thing that was said there, and it's not the last bit. I will reiterate the fact that a lot of schools underestimate the money that they are spending on staffing because the threshold values include money for your catering, money for your cleaning, money for your ICT support. So you need to include roughly 50% of your catering contract is staff, roughly 80% of your cleaning contract is staff, roughly 100% of your ICT contract is staff. And you need to add those back in. And if you've got a multi-academy trust, it depends. It used to be roughly a third to a half, so we use 40% of your top slice represents staffing. But if your trust is doing massive amounts, it may be 80%. You need to add in more. If it's not doing a lot in terms of what you would be paying for, you need to use less, take less than 40%. But it is important you include something to represent the staffing that is at the centre, which otherwise you would be paying for. So there is that. Sorry, you're going to tell me. That, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry we have to finish so you can have some lunch. Thank you for your attention.